Alrighty, guys, we're back for Assemble the Weenies, and this is a Murders at Karlov Manor standard brew, and I'm Red Cat. Let's briefly go over the deck, then hop right into some ranked, but first things first, this was a suggestion in the Discord, so thank you so much for the suggestion. It's gonna be a fun one. We're rocking Assemble the Players as a 3 of in here. It's a 2-mana enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. Once each turn, you may cast a creature spell with power 2 or less from the top of your library. So we do have a whole bunch of weenies packed in to hopefully cast off of Assemble the Players, like Ambitious Farmhand, for example. Grabbing some planes out of the list is going to be important, especially since we only have 22 mana in what I would consider a mid-range deck. So grabbing those planes is going to be very important. And we do have other ways to grab the planes too, like clay-fired bricks, for example, and also gaining some life off of clay-fired bricks goes that extra mile. More weenies that we can grab with the Assemble the Players, like Spirited Companion, keeping our hand nice and stocked. So if you do rip this off the top of your library, play it, and then also draw, that's a lot of extra value, huh? Some front-end weenies like Novice Inspector could come in handy with that extra clue. Just having the ETB is going to be important as well. And then also like Lunarch Veteran gaining us a whole bunch of life as we are slamming those extra creatures onto the board. And then Hopeful Initiate too. Like, I do want enough pressure on the board all the time to get through, but also just having that bottom ability where we could potentially destroy artifacts or enchantments could be really good, especially since we have other ways in here to give +1/+1 counters as well, like Wandering Emperor, for example. Yep, very powerful planeswalker, needs no introduction, huh? More weenies that we can grab with the Assemble the Players, like Werefox Bodyguard, potentially. Well, this is acting as one of our main pieces of removal in the build. There are going to be moments, though, where you're up against control and you actually don't have any targets, or maybe you actually hit one of your own creatures with this, too. I guess you never know, huh? Because it has that bottom ability where you can sacrifice it and then gain 2 life, and then you could get like an ETB happening again off of like Farmhand or something fancy like that. Or maybe you grab one of your own non-fox creatures as well, and then like wipe the board with an Expel the Interlopers. Check this one out, guys. It's 5 mana sorcery. Choose a number between 0 and 10. Destroy all creatures with power greater than or equal to the chosen power. This could potentially, in this build, be a one-sided board wipe, which is actually pretty wild, huh? Do have more ways to keep our hand nice and stocked, like Welcoming Vampire. We definitely have that whole power 2 or less theme going on in here, which also brings us to Delney Streetwise Lookout being an important key player in here, no doubt, because it could help us slip by a lot of the opponent's bigger blockers and deal that excess damage through. So Delney Streetwise Lookout's a 3 mana 2/2 legendary creature, and creatures you control with power 2 or less can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. Now, if an ability of a creature you control with power 2 or less triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So all these extra ETB effects could be really, really good. Also, Loran of the Third Path, just acting as more ways to destroy artifacts and enchantments, potentially also keeping our hands stocked with that bottom ability, although I don't know how often we actually activate that. And more ways to work with all these extra ETB effects like Elesh Norn here, that could really come in handy too. Also, just shutting down the opponent's ETBs could be huge as well. Permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities of permanents your opponents control to trigger could be huge against like the Boros War Leader decks that we see. Also, just more top-end goodness with the Eternal Wanderer also acting as kind of sort of a board wipe too. That could really come in handy. Then we also have a Roadside Reliquary over here for more card draw and more token generation on Mirrex and more removal on Seat of the Empire. But guys, we're going to go into a more in-depth discussion about the list at the end of the video, so we'll talk more of the synergies there and potentially make some changes to the build as well, so look forward to that. In the meantime, let's go ahead and hop into some ranked and see how we do. All right, we'll see if we can get right into that first game here. In the meantime, what am I expected from the build? I think it's going to be good, man. I do. I think there's a lot of strategy packed. I think there's a lot of sick synergies. I love the whole power 2 or less theme going on. When it goes first, I think this is totally keepable, dude. This is actually a really good hand, I would say. Yeah, dude, I think this is a great hand. Oh, Rock Priest. Okay, well, that could be a problem. as the life gain. Okay, instead of Lunarch Veteran, we're actually going to go Inspector to make sure that we can block the Rot Priest without trading or without dying. Because if we went Veteran, the life gain's probably not going to matter against a Toxic list. And we just have a good block here to prevent that first Toxic from getting through. Oh, unless they play something like that. Should we chump? No, it's only one. We should chump the Slaughter Singer instead. They do get the Toxic Ball rolling, though. Get more chump blockers onto the board. Yeah, we're going to need them for sure. How have you guys been liking the shorter intros? We've been testing it out for the week. Definitely let me know in the comments. I've been doing my dandiest to try. It's actually been really hard to shorten down the deck tech at the intro, you know? Okay, I will chump with the Lunarch Veteran. I don't mind that. Like I said, the life gain, unfortunately, isn't going to be doing too much for us here. Not against poison. Okay, going wide. Clay-fired bricks, more ways to gain life. Welcoming Vampire blocks pretty well, but it might get picked up right away. We go Welcoming Vampire instead of the Delney. This is only a 2-2, not a 2-3. I think getting a 2-3 down is a little bit more valuable right now. And then we continue to keep all the blockers back. Obviously, we don't want to swing with the Inspector either. It would instantly die. They drop more mana. Okay. They don't have Corrupted on the Seed Core just yet for the Crawling Chorus. So getting Delney on the board, there's actually an important synergy here to talk about, right? Because of how Welcoming Vampire is worded, like this ability triggers only once each turn, I'm pretty sure we won't get double card draw with the Delney's bottom ability. I guess this is a perfect time to actually test this out, huh? So no swings from the opponent. Start with the draw, like farmhand draw. But I want to get the Delney down. Like I said, I kind of want to test this now. Yeah, it only happens once because it only triggers once each turn. Okay, that was actually a pretty good draw too. Now the question is, when do we start swinging? Not yet, I suppose. The Bloated Contaminator is going to be brutal stuff. That Trample going to get through easy peasy. We're going to need that. We're going to need some of those board wipes, huh? Yeah, I don't think we can successfully swing, guys. Because Slaughter Singer's on this board. I'm surprised they've been waiting this long to actually go for the swing. I guess they didn't want to lose anything. But Slaughter Singer's like so good. Buffing all their other toxics. Yeah, here they go, here they go. Hopefully we get some good blocks here, though. Where do we want to block? We let Contaminator through for 5. They get the Proliferate regardless because of the Trample going through, so it's not worth blocking there. Their 1/1s go up to 2/2s. Slaughter Singer has to go, period. So we block there with Welcoming Vampire, right? That's 4 Toxic getting through plus the Proliferate, so we'll be up to 6 poison. Blocking with Delney isn't terrific. If we double block the Rot Priest, that's not bad, is it? Maybe we see which one they take out. I'm pretty sure they take out Delney. Going up to 5 here. Off decisions, guys. I'm going to keep the Lunarch Veteran back for now and not chump. What do you guys feel about that? Just like, I'm saving some chump blockers for next turn, potentially. Now that that's gone, we got to remember they're going to have life gain from the Skrell's Hive now, too, since they are corrupted. And they also have the Seed Core available. Okay, Werefox Bodyguard. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Okay. So get more chump blockers down and then flash in the Bodyguard on the Contaminator when it comes time. Now that's really good. So we start with the draw. Thin out the deck with the planes. or with the Farmhand, grab a plains. Too bad we don't have that Delney on the board, huh? Thin out the deck even further. Definitely take that action. Gain some life. Yeah, with all that extra life gain, hopefully we just have terrific blocks next turn. We ended up drawing some planes there too. Then we just keep Werefox Bodyguard open. See, again, if we didn't trade with Delney, the Werefox Bodyguard would be activating twice. So that would actually be wild. I want to keep as many blockers back as possible, so no attacks. We end our turn and hope that the opponent just sees land off the top, man, because if they rip some fire, we're in trouble. Mirrex for the turn. Yep, I mean, we're in trouble regardless, huh? But, like, hopefully they don't get something that buffs it. Like, another Slaughter Singer would just be game, I would say, because we need really good blocks on the Werefox Bodyguard as well. Like, we just need terrific blocks all around. There's the full swing. We gotta make sure we take care of that Rot Priest with a block as well. That's gonna be welcoming Vampire into Rot Priest, I would say. Gonna draw on the Vampire. Contaminator out of the equation, hopefully. Okay. A Novice Inspector. Okay. So you onto you. You onto you, I guess. We're gonna have to deal with Crawling Chorus eventually. Just like, just like everything, I suppose, right? Yeah, let's hope they didn't draw anything good here, man. Looks like they are gonna protect one of their 1/1s. Probably... Okay, they want their Bloated Contaminator back. Was that still worth the block? They didn't swing with Contaminator, and I guess that wasn't worth the block. Going up to 6 poison might have been a little better there. Oh, it was a second Contaminator. Guys, that's really bad, bro. Holy cow. That's really bad. How do we even... We're gonna have to go for like double blocks onto one of them or something. Yeah, losing the Werefox Bodyguard like that wasn't great, was it? Okay. Gonna get as many blockers down as possible again. Restock our hand. Do that again. This is actually pretty sick, dude. We have pretty wild synergies in here. Novice Inspector. I don't mind the Novice Inspector as just more blockers. Again, hopefully they don't see anything good off the top. That Contaminator draw was really, really good. Hopeful Initiate, if we can actually get it to survive. If we can get some counters down, that's not going to happen, is it? I was going to say, if we can get some counters, we might as well just double up on the clues while the Delney's alive. No blocks, unfortunately. Hopefully they don't get anything good off the top, and we have to be very careful as the Seed Core can totally buff one of the 1/1s. Still might be worth blocking. Being at 5 poison. Okay. So how do we want to do this? So if we can... They're going to buff one of those, right? In 1 second, opponent. If we prevent the trample damage from getting through... 2, 3... Tough. Very, very tough. I think one of these is going to hit. Right? I would have liked to keep that Delney around a little longer in case we see like another Werefox Bodyguard. But I think we have to take care of one of these. See, we could prevent it like that. They're going to protect one of the 1/1s. We're going up to 7 poison here. And we're only losing one of these, which I think it's going to be the Welcoming Vampire. Really tough decisions, man. Really tough decisions. I'm actually going to say Spirited Companion to block one of these instead. and keep the Inspector around. Well, I guess they just kill the other Inspector, and then we trade into Companion, right? Yeah, never mind. Both Inspectors would have been better. We would have just lost an Inspector either way, but now we're also losing the Companion. Oopsie-daisies, guys. That was not optimized blocks. Although... Okay, yeah, no, that just wasn't optimized. And then they take the Welcoming Vampire. Yep. Dude, we're in so much trouble. It was land. All right, that's good news for us. We do need a way around this other Contaminator, though. Just, like, poop things onto the board, I suppose, would be a start. All right. We'll start with Ambitious Farmhand. Now that Welcoming Vampire is gone, we don't have terrific draws outside of the clues. I guess we could use some of these clues, but we want to thin out the deck first. We didn't get to see Assemble yet, too. Banes. Take action. Banes. And them generating a 1/1 every turn. Super scary, huh? Don't have an enchantment on the board for the Roadside Reliquary. Go for the draw. If it's a plains, I would call that unlucky. But we'll see. It's going to be a Lunarch Veteran. Okay. Now we just drop as many 1-drops as possible. Starting with the Veteran, because we actually are getting pretty low on our normal life total here. So gaining some life back is not terrible. I feel like that Seed Core has actually done a lot for them. A lot of clues, a lot of ways to keep our hand nice and stocked up. And we still just don't have any successful swings. Also, the opponent's at 35, guys, so I don't exactly know how we're going to get all that excess damage through. So I guess we'll see. Okay, no swings. Go Mirrex. Skrelv generates another, or Skrelv's Hive generates another one. Yeah, losing that Companion was super silly because now we don't have like the enchantment on the board for the Roadside Reliquary too. Okay, so like everything we have onto you, we lose 2 of those creatures. And everything we have onto you, we lose the Hopeful Initiate to the Seed Core. Actually, dude, we are in so much trouble. It's not even funny. These Seed Cores are really good. Let's keep the Initiate. Just go down to 8. I'm gonna have a Novice back. We'll need 2 more Poison Cat. I don't know how we're getting through this game, guys. I really, really don't. Those Seed Cores are doing so much for them. It protects both of their things, so these essentially just become chump blocks, right? So they get to keep all of these. So if we attempted the block on Initiate, we lose Initiate, but they lose 1 of their 1/1s, but then they generate it back with Skrelv's Hive, and then they generate it back with Mirrex too. I'll tell you what, guys, I think Toxic was one of the worst matchups for this build. You know what I mean? Although we are showcasing the deck relatively well here overall. All right. Also, their Bloated Contaminator's gone too, so that's pretty good. Regular life gain on the Clayfire Bricks, not doing too much, and we're actually thinning the deck out even further here before going for the draw. Look at our hand, guys. 1, 2, 3 planes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the board. Jeez, man. They drop us the GGs, as they do have enough here, don't they? I suppose we could go for a board wipe, huh? I suppose we go for that board wipe. See what happens. Still 4 mana. Uh-oh. I shouldn't have played the Clayfired Bricks. Alright, so we'll go Lunarch Veteran then. And Lunarch Veteran. So we do have enough chump blockers. We'll take 1 toxic damage next turn, depending on what they see on top here. So I could have played this out much better as well. The deck had a lot of really cool stuff going on. The draw into Roadside Reliquary seems a little unlucky. With all the filtering and card draw we were doing, with only 22 land in here, it does feel relatively unlucky, doesn't it? So we'll block everything, take 1 poison, and then they save 2 of their creatures with the Seed Core. So throughout this match, we had some better optimal blocks that potentially could have kept us in long enough to actually see the board wipe. We still have draws. And then they do the same for the Hopeful Initiate one. Because we're still losing everything here, but they're not losing those guys. 9 poison. A bunch of life gain. It's actually pretty funny, right? Yeah, speaking of life gain, the Skrelv's Hive, huh? Being terrific for them. You know, Toxic in general, still just looking really solid, man. Farmhand. What on earth? Okay, so we'll start with the draw. See what we see. Because we still have 6 mana, we could see... assemble the players. 31 cards remaining. Even if we wipe the board, they go Mirrex at the end, don't they? So we'd still have to have enough mana to play a card out. And this only happens once, too. Alright, let's play Assemble the Players just to see what's on top of the deck, huh? Let's see it. And then maybe we'll get some stuff down. Maybe we'll do some more card draw. Actually could have been sick earlier. But we were using up our mana quite effectively. It's going to be a Plains on the top, guys. Well, that's not what we want to see at all. Do we need to talk about going down to 21 land? No, probably not. Because there's always going to be so much that we want to do. It's going to be another land on the top after the shuffle. So Luminous Phantom at that point is much better than going Clue into the Plains. All right. Good game, opponent. Very tough, very tough uphill battle, and I could have played it out much, much better, I feel. Look at all this land. Game, opponent. It's rockin' Toxic. You gotta appreciate when they're not just playing another meta deck, another Boros build, right? Good game, buddy. I did drop him the GGs down here, right? I'll drop him this one. Yeah, the Seed Core really doing a thing. In these Toxic builds, is Seed Core a 4 of? Probably, right? At least a 3 of. Well, that depends. It depends how many cards like Skrelv's Hive they have. Real quick, guys, I wanted to double check something. There were actually some moments there where I was getting a little concerned about the mana, like being able to do as much as possible when we're dropping like the 1-drops, which happen to all require that white source. Wanted to double check here. For the Roadside Reliquary, we might go down to 1 of these, but Assemble the Players and Spirited Companion are the enchantments. Okay. Wanted to double check. Yeah, we didn't have any wedding announcements or anything like that in here, because we're just going for the creature side of things with the power 2. So outside of Toxic, we technically would still be in that match, which is something to consider, right? Like, we had enough life gain to where it was really the Toxic that was putting on the pressure that game. We go first. This is totally fine, dude. Totally fine. And we got the Assemble the Players right away, too, so Wandering Emperor would have been huge in that last game. Maybe we got to already talk about going up to 3 of those, but any extra of these that we go, it's less likely that we see creatures off the Assemble the Players. You're probably going to go right into Assemble the Players early on here instead of Clay-Fired Bricks, but we'll see what they play. Warden, okay. Maybe it should be Clay-Fired Bricks then. Nah. Assemble the Players. Let's go. Oh, Lunarch Veteran. Well, we're going to be drawing that, unfortunately, but it's not a bad draw. But we're probably going to attempt the Welcoming Vampire next turn. Speaking of Boros, huh? Speaking of the devil, they go Resolute Reinforcements on their turn. to tap down for the Warden. Nice. Very nice opponent. That is sorcery speed. Ooh. I mean, while we can, we should definitely play the stuff off the top of our deck, right? So start with the Spirited Companion. Draw Plains, not terrible. Lunarch Veteran. I guess starting with Lunarch Veteran could have gained us some life, but we didn't know what we were drawing off the Companion. Chumping and taking 4 is definitely the line of play that I want to take here. Okay, hey, Farmhand. Wow, dude. Okay. We're seeing stuff off the Assemble the Players right now. I'm going to start with that Farmhand. Thin the deck out. And then Clay-Fired Bricks for the turn. Another Plains off the top. Wandering Emperor would be fine, but we can wait for now. As long as Warden doesn't get in the air with its Vigilance. Continue to thin that deck. Back up to 19. Not terrible, guys. All this life gain is going to go the extra mile. Chumping with the Farmhand is going to be important here too, probably. Sanguine Evangelist. Very nice opponent. Down to 17. Buff that. Don't play something else. Okay, good, good, good. It doesn't have Vigilance, so I will chump it. That's 4 damage that we're not taking, and we're planning on going... Oh, Werefox Bodyguard off the top. Dude, we're hitting every turn with this Assemble the Players. Holy cow, huh? Play the Plains. This is a lot of mana, first of all, but... So we can go Werefox off the top. Once each turn, you may cast a creature. Now, it does have Flash, so technically we should be able to do that on their turn. But I don't know how much that matters. I think... Because we'd be risking a little bit here, probably. If I do this now... We're 1 mana short of the Welcoming Vampire. We do have the draw on the Roadside Reliquary if we wanted. Exiling the Evangelist before it's too late could be really good too. I think I'm going to go Werefox, see what's on top. Okay, look at that, guys. Let's go Warden before they give it Vigilance, right? Expel the Interlopers is going to be really good next turn. No attacks. Keep the chump blockers back for now. We do have 2 open. If we're going to be chumping with the Bodyguard, then we sacrifice it. As long as they don't end up having Trample, which I don't believe Boros has. And hopefully they go nice and wide before we drop the Expel the Interlopers. We're probably going to call it for... Okay, that's a lot of extra damage, isn't it? Down to 16. Oh, Emodane's Recruiter. Dude, holy cow, huh? Okay, well, we're going to block the Evangelist. Oh, are we dead here? We're going to die. Because they buff everything with the Evangelist as well. I think that's it. Wait a minute. We gain 2 off the Bodyguard. We block there. No, wait. We chump there. 16. Wherever we block on the ground. No, that's 20. That's 20 getting through, isn't it? It is. GG opponent. Also, they get this for an extra damage off the War Leader's Call as well. GG, buddy. Wow. Okay. I mean, we know how explosive Boros can be, and it was a tough decision between Evangelist and the Warden, because Warden was about to get that Vigilance, but in that match right there, we can go ahead and blame me again, because we easily could have exiled the Evangelist, right? And then they wouldn't have had the Battle Cry, and we would have had the blocks, and we would have been, like, 1 health maybe, and then Expel the Interlopers was going to wipe the board. But if we were going down to like 1, then War Leader's Call was going to wrap up the game for them anyways. Oh man, we really do have to talk about going down to 21 mana. Now remember, we are plugging our hand with a lot of this land as we're playing out our stuff too, so. At the same time, I think we still want to consider this deck a mid-range build, so 22 is still pretty low for mid-range, regardless of how much you are ripping out of the deck. Something to consider. Maybe down to 21 in the final thoughts. Woohoo! Good hand. Very nice. Honestly, guys, against that Boros list, I kind of felt like I was feeling favored there, but it can be so ridiculously explosive. Okay, let's thin that deck, as apparently we are in desperate need of thinning this deck list. Also, Assemble the Players totally did a thing. Totally did a thing last game. That was pretty cool. Finding the third path, maybe a cut down Fading Hope style of list. Oh. More poison? That would be awful, actually. That would be terrible if this was more poison. I'm going to keep the Werefox Bodyguard open. I guess we swing. I don't know what Bodyguard's going to be taking here, but mill 4. With the poison, we can assume it's either poison or a proliferate build, and if it's a proliferate, then we anticipate planeswalkers. Opponent says, why not both? We're in trouble, dude. We're in trouble. Poison against this deck has to be worst case scenario, right? I'm just going to go ahead and get Werefox Bodyguard down just for the sake of having more onto the board as we're swinging, and submit 0 here as well. Could take Farmhand, but nah. Ooh, Elesh Norn could be really good. Don't have it yet, though. Hopefully the opponent's not rocking board wipes of any kind, because I'm going to go wide here with that hopeful initiate. I should say early board wipes, as if they're rocking board wipes in Dimir, it could be like Path of Peril potentially, but also there's like some 5 mana board wipes that Swamps can rock. Yeah, what do they want to hit here? Just more poison to our face, maybe? This is actually going to be pretty sick, dude. With this case, this is going to be cool, because this only cost 1. So it's 1 for the drown on the initiate. That's probably a better bet than the Bodyguard. I agree with the opponent here. Especially since if they go Bodyguard, we can sacrifice it too before, and then the drown and Ichor fizzles out. So they wouldn't get the proliferate. Still squeezing some damage through, luckily. I wonder if Elesh Norn comes down before combat. No, after combat. I'd rather them use some removal here instead of countering the Elesh Norn. There's going to be a Serum Snare. Bounces it back to our hand. Crap, guys, they still have 2 mana open as well. Down to 11. Let's see that counter, I guess, huh? Now, if they counter that... Okay, good. Excellent. So, I was going to say, if they counter that, we might be able to land the Eternal Wanderer next turn, which could be a great engine. Ordered Curiosity, draw 2, easy peasy. Really cool list, man. The case of the Ransacked Lab with this style of poison, I really like that, opponent. Very neat. Okay, we're going to keep Werefox Bodyguard in hand for now. We don't have enough mana to do that and flip the Farmhand. So let's go for that swing, see what happens. We could attempt the Eternal Wanderer, or just keep Werefox Bodyguard. We go Eternal Wanderer, we could go plus on the Farmhand. Thin the deck out a little further next turn. I feel like that might be waiting too long. I'm going to try Eternal Wanderer to get the engine down. And if I guess... Oh, it lands, guys. Okay. Well. Yep. Let's do this.
We can win this together.
That's really, really good for us. Because now if they do end up having any of those top-end board wipes, the Eternal Wanderer can just keep pooping out tutus for a little while. And since they're down to 5, the opponent needs a lot here, man. Vraska's Fall. I will sacrifice the Veteran. Puts us up to 4 poison. They still have 4 mana open. GG opponent. Wow, I honestly was expecting a little bit more from their list, so I think they got a little unlucky, guys. I do. I don't know what was in their hand, but I can just imagine this would pop off to the extreme. That's actually really neat, man. I loved the opponent's list there. I would have loved to actually see it do more too, right? Like on that turn, they still had 4 mana. Maybe they could have gotten us up to like 9 poison or something crazy. We're going to attempt one more match, guys. Then we're going to go into the final thoughts where it's just like the more in-depth deck discussion. Then hopefully here the final match isn't too long as well. And if it ends up being too long, we'll go ahead and give it to the opponent. It's no worries, as long as it's leaning towards the opponent, right? All right, buddy, what you bringing to the table? I feel like with all the synergies and everything that we have packed into the list, I feel like while it's been doing the thing, I feel like we haven't had like the greatest of matches for this deck in particular. Aldarian Epicure right away from the opponent. Get ready for that farmhand while the veteran's on the board. It's going to be more Boros, guys. Oh, no. Looks like they're going to tap for the Warden right away. Let's not make the same mistake I made last time and make sure that we take, like, Evangelist off the board right away. Werefox Bodyguard is not bad at all. Going to go ahead, thin out the deck a little bit here. That's so important for this list when we are trying to see a lot of things with the assemble the players and whatnot. Again, against Boros, I kind of feel favored, but at the same time, they're so ridiculously explosive that we can't, like, we can't take it. Yeah, we can't expect too much, I guess, is the words I'm looking for. We double block Epicure. 3 gets through. It's 1 less creature on the board. Nah. I'll chump the 3/4. 3 less damage. Down to 18. Keeping Lunarch Veteran on the board seems a little better. Werefox Bodyguard or just a blocker with Welcoming Vampire for now. And then we'll have Wandering Emperor for the next turn. Welcoming Vampire as a blocker for now is a little bit riskier than removal. But I don't think we're going to die here yet. Okay, they go for that swing. Oh, Witchstalker Frenzy is in their list, guys. Okay, so we could take 5 and just assume that Lunarch Veteran's going to gain us more life than the chump. I hope that's fine. Witchstalker Frenzy was really good for the opponent. I do wonder how many of these Boros lists rock the Witchstalker Frenzy, because I don't see it too often. I really don't. It's great, though. Absolute reinforcements. They're going to go ahead, tap everything down, buff the Warden, and now's the time to, before they give the Warden Vigilance, we want to play Wandering Emperor, gain 2, and get that Warden off the board. Right? Yeah, we can't let them give that Vigilance, but we do have Werefox Bodyguard, too. Like, we could draw off the Spirited Companion as well. We could actually go life gain route for the turn. Clay-Fired Bricks and then Delney comes down. We'll gain 4 up to 16. Are we potentially dead? They give that Vigilance in the air, taking big damage. The reason I wanted Delney down first is because Werefox Bodyguard picking up 2 things is much better than 1. But Delney's probably going to be forced to block if we go that path. It's a much, much riskier path. I love it. Let's do it. All right, let's test it out, huh? Boros is rough, man. No matter what. I already played my land for the turn. Oh, guys. Well, now it's a really, really risky. Oh, dude, we're dead. What have I done, man? Oh, jeez. I already played my land this turn. War Leader's Call. I'd say they want to get the Warden in the sky instead of a full swing. What do you guys think? No, they go for the swing. So we chump the Warden. We don't want to take 9 here. But losing Lunarch Veteran, like, can we gain more than 3 next turn off the Veteran? No. Because we're planning on Wandering Emperor, take out the Warden. The double War Leader's Call means anything that they play is going to be dealing 2 damage to our face regardless. But just getting the chumps in is a little better, I would say. Unfortunately, this has got to be the opponent's, right? Technically, if I was correct in my assumption last turn and we actually got the 5th down with the Delney on the board, taking that extra 3 and then going Werefox Bodyguard, that would have been really, really good, man. But as of right now, it's actually probably Werefox Bodyguard on the swing, block with Bodyguard, sacrifice Bodyguard. 1, 2, dude, we're so dead. We are so dead. We could get Lunarch Veteran down as a chump blocker too instead of sacrificing. Going up to 11 on the sacrifice. Warden off the board and a block. I think that's better than Wandering Emperor. Right now that we have 5 on the board. It's too bad we can't set up with that Delney though. Just 1 mana short, 1 turn short realistically. Okay. Full swing coming in. Here we go. Werefox Bodyguard. We pick up Warden. We block with Bodyguard. We sacrifice Bodyguard. We go back up to 11 and we take 6. Actually pretty good, isn't it? So we block with you. Oh, except for the fact that we're going to be losing the 2. Oh. Well, down to 3. I mean, we're alive unless they drop creatures on the board. GG opponent. Oh, buddy. Really tough battles. I'll tell you what, man. This Boros list is going to have so many people playing so many board wipes. Like, we've seen a huge uptick in the amount of temporary lockdowns, and we got to realistically consider one for this list, unfortunately, right? When you start doing that stuff with janky lists like this, hold on, let's get to the deck list real quick. We're about 43 minutes in. Assemble the Weenies. The best deck name that I've ever come up with, right there. No. Okay, couple things, man. Expel the Interlopers. Where were you today, bro? Nah, it's okay. I think we just need cheaper board wipes as well. So I think even though this could potentially be a one-sided board wipe, realistically, just going up a couple depopulates is still going to do more for you overall. But if you go up a couple depopulates, there's going to be a lot of moments where you're just like, you're losing a lot of your own tempo as we are just pooping creatures onto the board at a really consistent rate. Loran of the Third Path would have been great against those War Leaders Call decks, but it also would have been really, really slow too. As we're like super duper struggling to actually survive in those matches. Okay, a couple things, right? A couple things. If we were up against more mid-range decks, then a lot of this extra card draw would have come in handy a little bit more than what we saw today. Like the Roadside Reliquaries, for example, didn't do anything, but I still think those are totally fine to keep in here, as there's going to be plenty of moments where you're set up with an Assemble the players, and you have extra clues off of Novice Inspector, and more artifacts in here like Clay-Fired Bricks as well. There is a lot to think about in those scenarios. But that being said, we are going to drop down to 1 Roadside Reliquary because I do feel like we were flooding in a lot of those builds. And since we have 7 cards to grab planes out of the list, I think Farmhand and Clay-Fired Bricks will keep at 3 and Farmhand at 4. And I think 21 should technically be enough. Now, we do have some honorable mentions to discuss over here. Great removal like ossification didn't make the cut because we're trying to go the assemble the players route as much as possible. So what can we hit with assemble the players in the list? Let's put them all in a line here. Put them all in a line. Yeah. Look at that. We can hit all of that with assemble the players. So maybe we want 4 of these since I leaned so heavy into that strategy. Probably not though. I don't even think I have a 4th. I do not have a 4th, and I don't think that would be worth the craft either. So not yet, at least. I'll probably pull the 4th out of a pack at some point. So dropping a land, that'll be good. Now, what do we want to go up? Like a 4th Werefox Bodyguard? Even this felt pretty slow, especially against those Boros lists, right? So temporary lockdown. Like I said, we've been seeing just so much temporary lockdown in Azorius control, especially. I don't know how many copies they're running in Azorius control, but it feels like 2 to 3 at least. I doubt it's 4. That would be surprising. The big problem with temporary lockdown is how much it actually hits in our list here, so I don't think it would work well. Exile each non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less until temporary lockdown leaves the battlefield. So there is like a line. Let me put this in the honorable mentions for a second. There is a line where you pick up a lot of your stuff too, and then you drop like Loran, and then you pop your own temporary lockdown and get all the ETBs again. But is that worth it? Actually, it might be, just for like the sake of when you are going up against the Boros builds, then you'll be able to say like, well, I do have a temporary lockdown in the build, right? Maybe drop a land, 1 temporary lockdown. Like more removal in general could be okay too. But the Wandering Emperors though. The Expel the Interlopers is a little better than the Wandering Emperors against those Boros lists, but I suppose it depends what you're actually seeing in your meta too. So everyone sees something a little bit different. But I mean, with how much Boros I'm seeing, I can't imagine people aren't just slamming their face against the Boros builds, right? Like I can't imagine that people aren't playing as much of it as I am. Or as much against it, I should say. Oh, tough decisions, man, huh? Because we have to make it more consistent at least. The drop in the mana, that was important. But like, is temporary lockdown actually the play? With Hopeful Initiate, we could potentially pop the lockdown too. I think just like, unfortunately, Expel the Interlopers has to get cut. And I'm thinking we might curve out better with Depopulate. Wait, hold on. Not Depopulate. Hold on. We have a better version of this card from the new set for this list, especially since we can totally go wide in this list. Do I know what it's called? Absolutely not. Let's see if we could find it together here. Here it is. No Witnesses. Each player who controls the most creatures investigates and then destroy all creatures. Would that be better? Technically, the Boros list would likely get the Investigate. Would that be better than Depopulate for this list, guys? Let me know in the comments. What do you think? I think so. There's going to be moments. Say you're up against a mid-range deck and they have Shieldred and a couple other big creatures, but you have 4 little chump blockers. Or think about that Toxic list, right? That first deck that we went up against. There were moments where we actually had more creatures on the board, but we wouldn't have minded the board wipe by any means. Okay. No more Witnesses. I think that might actually be better. Just 1 less mana, too, for the board wipe is going to be super important. And I think we are going to still keep that temporary lockdown. More synergies. We got to call this a combo deck for sure, but also it's an enchantment, so it does work with that one Roadside Reliquary. Mirrex generating tokens that happen to be artifacts is pretty good, too. I think just the 21 mana, making it so that way our board wipes are cheaper, and then having more board wipes, I think that could all push this deck into a more favorable spot against the meta currently. What do you guys think? I still really like the one Elesh Norn and the one Eternal Wanderer too. Let's go over the rest of the honorable mentions. Of course, Ossification almost made the cut. We thought about Brutal Cathar, but we opted for Werefox Bodyguard, and you guys could kind of see why in this list, especially since the Flash works really well with the Welcoming Vampire too. We can draw on your turn with the Welcoming Vampire, and then you can flash down Bodyguard on the opponent's turn to draw off the Welcoming Vampire. And then also, really neat stuff that you can do with that bottom ability since you're going to be chumping sometimes anyway. So is that better than the Nighttime on Cathar in this deck? I do think so. A Sanguine Evangelist could have been pretty cool in here. There's something to think about. Wedding Announcement, for sure. Absolutely, dude. It just doesn't work with Assemble the Players, but it's such a good card in a build like this especially. What about this Wojak Investigator too? This could have been neat. I think Flying Vigilance 2/4 happens to block a lot too, but I think it's just too slow for what we've been seeing, huh? Elspeth Resplendent almost made the cut too, and there's our poor Expel the Interlopers. It didn't do anything today. It's like I said, yeah, I think no witnesses would have been a little better. If you don't have the no witnesses, definitely just go for the couple depopulates instead. Or maybe like you really like that concept of temporary lockdown where we end up locking down a lot of our ETB effects and then maybe popping it with a Loran or a Hopeful Initiate. But actually, that is pretty neat. And then temporary lockdown is going to help you a lot against the Boros builds too, but I can't imagine going up to 2 of these. I can't. The double Delney. While the whole deck list is about the power 2 or less effects, I can't imagine going up any Delneys either. As it's just a 2/2. It's going to be hard to keep on the board, and it's going to be even harder to just not chump block with Delney, as you're just always in danger. You know what I mean? Tough stuff. Tough decisions. Really tough uphill battles all week, guys. All the videos this week. We had a really tough time against the meta, but I hope you guys still had fun, as much fun as I did, right? Guys, if you made it this far into the video for real, y'all are champions. I super duper appreciate you. Make sure you check out the description where we got that Discord link as well as that Patreon link if you're interested in supporting the channel that way. I think I like what we landed on here for the final version of the deck that we'll be uploading. I like it, and I actually do like the double Initiate, but boy, like I said, we're just always in trouble, aren't we? Also, Initiate might be really hard to buff with that training if we don't have like Werefox Bodyguard or Welcoming Vampire or Delney. If you have the Delney on the board, the training pops off twice, which is actually pretty cool. But then you also have Wandering Emperor to put +1/+1 counters on things too to help that way. Yeah, no, I still like the Initiate, and if you drop the Initiates, you're going to want to go up something else that pops artifacts or enchantments, which White does have some options there. As far as creature-wise, I'm not so sure, but they have like Destroy Evil and stuff like that, so. Okay, guys, enough rambling, huh? I will see you in the next video.